Hey students, it's Miss Sam. I wanted to show you an exemplar of a process journal so that you could get an idea of what you're aiming for in your own. So I'm going to zoom in briefly, and the top paragraph is actually really useful to you because it talks about what could go in your process journal. But the thing I'd like you to really keep in the forefront of your mind is this bit I highlighted. So am I making my thinking visible, and how am I doing so? So when I say visible, visible here, visible so that someone else can have a look and understand your process of research. So thinking about this investigation of digging into your questions and seeking answers. Got that image there, that graphic that shows you where we are right now. We are in investigating. And I noted here that you are required to have at least 3 sources, reliable sources of information as part of your process journal. So to keep that in mind, you might want to ask yourself, well, when I'm looking for a source, how do I know it's useful to me? And so all of these on this chart might help you understand what is useful and for what purpose. So for example, if you're interested in statistics, how are statistics going to help you answer one of your questions? Maybe you want to find a document that's from an official place. Maybe you're just trying to find out the history of something. So this, it's called an OPVL, and it stands for the origin of a text, its purpose, how it might be valuable, but what it's also missing, its limitations. So for me, for today, I would like to show you my project, which I'm imagining that my project is helping refugees that are coming from North Korea and settling in South Korea. And I did a project similarly to this in my last school, so I'm just going to show you what my research questions might look like and how I went about finding those answers. So my first research question that I wrote down, and I did this in my Criterion A packet, copied those into my process journal. So my first question is, how are people affected when a border cannot be crossed? Kind of open-ended, definitely relating to the border between North and South Korea. So I've got that one, and then down below I have another question that's a little more specific. So what's the history of the DMZ on the Korean Peninsula? And another question I'm working on, what resources are available to refugees once they settle in South Korea? And in this case, I'm talking about North Korean refugees. Okay, so those are sort of my questions. I would have more, but for the examples today, I'm going to start with these 3. So going back up to my blue, I decided that in order to try to answer that question, I went and found a website that I thought would be useful and a news article, and I'd like to show you those. So my first citation is here. That's the website. It's an organization. And the other news article is linked here. So I put both of those into Mla Citation by clicking here, and I'm able to copy and paste things in. And as you can see, I have a running record of everything. And so I'm able to just copy and paste those in. Then is when I actually go to that source and I start digging and I start looking for notes. So I went ahead and put some of my notes here. This is just some. I could absolutely add more, but I'm trying to get notes to help me address or answer this question. And it means I might have to go to multiple sources to find that information. So here are some notes. Of course, there will be more. And then I had to think about, so how did that source link back to my question? So the organization was, it's called Liberty in North Korea, and I wanted to really think about that organization and how it could help me answer my question. So it actually meets with refugees, it keeps data on things, and I think all of that data I can put into my notes, and I think it will help me have a more better understanding of what it feels like to be a person stuck on one side of a border. Next question. I watched this documentary. It's called the Chamandong Generation, and it's linked here. And I was trying to figure out, how did this border come to be? How is it to live on it today versus how it was, 60 years ago? So I watched this documentary. I started to take some notes. The other thing I decided to do was, a documentary wasn't going to be enough. So I also wanted to look in this Encyclopedia Britannica. Why? Because I need some facts. And while I need perspectives, if I'm interested in history, I'm really interested in the facts and when things happened. So I started again to take some notes. I actually found a map that talked about when people on the 2 sides of the war were actually moving back and forth on the peninsula. So I found that in Encyclopedia and I screenshot it here. But I'm not done with these notes. There's more dates, there's more information I want to do. And I also really want to think about, is this source linked? Did the Britannica help me get to my answer? Did the documentary help me get to my answer? So I need to